Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Medical Qigong Practice. My name is Mary Francis. I am one of the Malaysian Wellbeing students. Today, we're going to be focusing on the Golden Eight series. So let's go ahead and start out with our warm-ups. Opening up, hip width, shoulder width apart. We're settling into the space. Softening the knees, relaxing the low back, relaxing the shoulders. Tip of the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth. We're allowing the very top of the head to elevate just a bit into the sky. And then twisting at the waist, allowing the hands to come into loose fists. We're letting them tap the sides of the body, or wherever it's comfortable for you. Remember, we're not moving into any pain or discomfort. We want to keep within our comfort zone. This allows better qi and blood flow. Breathing in and out through the nose, allowing the breath to draw deep into the body. And gradually we're letting that lead arm travel up the torso towards the upper aspect of the opposing shoulder. Letting the mind intent, the mind's eye stay with the breath and stay with the area that's being activated through the tapping. And we're letting that lead arm travel back down the body towards the waist. Releasing the hands. And then transitioning to open up the lower half of the body, widening the stance, tapping the inner thigh, and then up at the hip. Allowing the shoulders to remain relaxed, the elbows, wrists, the hands still in loose fists. Transitioning further, starting from the hips, traveling down the inner aspect of the legs. Just above the ankle, transitioning to the lateral aspect of the ankle, coming back on up. Once you get to the hips and the glutes, sliding that left foot a little closer to the right, maintaining the hip width, shoulder width distance. And then coming on up to just underneath the rib cage, activating the kidneys and that kidney energy. Placing the palms at the low back, circling down the sides and up the spine. And then resting the palms at the low back, closing the eyes. Inhaling, guiding the breath and the qi through the nose, down into the torso, meeting the palms at the low back. And exhaling, allowing the qi to flow wherever it's needed within the body. Inhaling, we're guiding the breath and the qi to the low back, allowing it to fill up with energy. And exhaling, allowing that qi to travel to wherever it's needed within the body. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace, letting the mind relax into the breath, allowing the breath to relax the body, and allowing the qi to flow freely to wherever it's needed. Gently opening the eyes, letting the arms come back down to the sides and closing by bringing that left foot back to the right. Opening. Reach for happiness for the lung and large intestine. Inhaling. Exhaling. In and out. Inhaling. Exhaling. In and out. At your own pace. Allowing the breath to draw forth the movement. Getting ready to close. Our archer exercise for the heart and small intestine. Inhaling. Exhaling. In and out. Getting ready to close. Closing. Excuse me. Our spleen and stomach exercise between heaven and earth. Sorry, I got something caught. Inhaling, but I guess that's what Qigong is for. Exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. And exhaling. Continuing on. Allowing the breath and the movement to harmonize. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our Sanjiao exercise. Turn and look back. Inhaling and exhaling. In and out. Inhaling and exhaling. Enjoying each little element of the exercise. Allowing each little element to flow into the next. And getting ready to close. Closing. Twist and release liver and gallbladder. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. Letting the movement be an expression of the breath. And getting ready to close. Closing. Our kidney urinary bladder exercise, bend for health. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling back to standing. Continuing on. and closing. Our rim channel exercise, energy punch, inhaling, exhaling, in and out, inhaling and exhaling. And allowing the breath to draw forth the movement. Getting ready to close. Closing. Energy jump for the dew channel opening. We've got two parts. Inhaling and exhaling. And part two, inhaling and exhaling. Closing, keeping the feet together so we can retain all that wonderful energy, bringing the palms together, transferring some of that wonderful energy to the palms to get ready for our facial rejuvenation exercises. Washing the face 9 times. Wiping the brow and under the eye 9 times. Wiping up and down the nose. And circles, lower, mid, upper aspects, inward and outward 9 times each. Underneath the eyes, at the divot on the cheekbone, inward and outward. Using all the fingertips, dredging the channels of the scalp. Beating the drum. And I wanted to say plucking, but it's grasping, grasping the ears. Plucking sort of works. Popping the cork. And placing one fingertip on the philtrum, the other on the mandibular crease, inward and outward, 9 times each. And then massaging the jaw, 9 times each side. Wiping down the throat, 12 times total, or 6 times each side. And then continuing down the breastbone, 12 times total, or 6 times each side. We're now placing the palms at the lower dantian, that's 3 to 4 finger breaths beneath the belly button. Traditionally, men place their left hand first, right hand on top. Women, traditionally, it's right and then left. I'm not going to mirror you. We're simply going to hold here at the lower dantian as we close the eyes. And inhaling through the nose, we're gathering all the chi that we've been cultivating over the past half hour into the lower dantian, allowing it to fill up with energy. Exhaling, allowing this energy to settle and store so that it may be used throughout the rest of your day. Inhaling, using the mind intent, the mind's eye, to draw the breath and the chi into the lower dantian. Exhaling, allowing that chi to settle and store so that you may use it throughout the rest of your day. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace, allowing the mind to relax, the body to relax, and the chi to settle and store. Thank you guys so very, very much for a wonderful Qigong practice. Real quick, I learned a lesson. When you swallow wrong and you're choking, it's much, much better to just go ahead and cough instead of to try to push through as if nothing is happening, because as in Qigong, you want to stay in your comfort zone. Otherwise, you start choking still and crying and all sorts of fun things. So I learned a lesson. I am still human. Henry, please take over.
Hey, Mary Frances. Hi, everybody. Thanks for that nugget of wisdom. I'll remember that next time I'm choking. Okay, so today, yesterday we talked about, the 60-year cycle and what the significance of every 12 years means. Just a quick note about that before we move to control cycle. So it's about 12 years, roughly, plus or minus a few years. Mainly the thing is to try to plan ahead. And it doesn't mean it's always a great experience. Sometimes sometimes when we go through difficult times, challenges, like we are right now, those things can spur on changes within you that could be good. So the more that you are prepared for it, the better you'll be able to make the most of the opportunities that come with it. Okay, so today we're talking about control cycle. What does the control cycle mean? that it's kind of like, you know, Superman has kryptonite, you know, like we have a weakness towards something. So each of us, we have things that we respond to better, and things that maybe we don't like it, but we still respond to it. Like so if something controls us, it means that like there's kind of like a kryptonite we have to it. Like if my weakness is to the wood element, um, you know, people who have a lot of wood, I would respond. Doesn't mean I like it. Doesn't mean that I enjoy it, but I do respond in a way that maybe gets me going. So when we look at control cycle, I want you to think about basically like how we can utilize this in our lives. Like perhaps we are, you know, primarily one element, but it doesn't mean that you can't use other elements in your life, whether it's finding people who are of the other elements to help you, or generating that within yourself just temporarily for certain situations. For example, if you tend to be a little bit more of a nurturing type, maybe that focus and drive isn't really your natural gift. So finding someone who is, when you need to get things done, like maybe you need to really get some sort of house project done, or some personal, like maybe business thing done, and you need some of that wood energy. You can either find someone who has a lot of that wood, or you can find ways to generate that wood within you. Actually, one of the things is you can watch YouTube videos of really wood people tell you like you should do X, Y, and Z, and that's really wood energy too. Okay, so let me bring up the 5-element chart so we can see what this control cycle looks like. All right, so here we go. Control cycle. So we start with wood at the top. Okay, so wood is going to control earth. All right, so it's like you skip an element. And then fire controls metal. And earth controls water. And metal controls wood. And water controls fire. Okay, and then back again. So, how do I wipe this out? Aha, ooh, magic. Okay, so that's control cycle. So how does this work in real life? All right, so when we look at, let's start with wood. So wood, we say, controls earth. Now think about, I just gave the example actually, where wood has a tendency to be very rooted into the ground, right? So its gift is the nurturing gift, but it can be, sometimes can be a little bit stagnant, doesn't like to move, it can be stubborn, okay? So the wood element is that drive, that focus, that getting things done, that spring energy, right, of growth. So having that can really nudge along that earth energy. So that's why we look at that's how wood can control earth. So someone, basically when we say control, it means that usually we use it in a situation where it's too much of something. So you look for something to control it. So in this case, it would be too much earth, too much of that perhaps nurturing, too much of that rootedness. So you're not moving too much, you're stagnant. And you want that wood energy to help move you along, okay? So maybe that's a coach, maybe that's, you know, getting into some competitive sport, maybe that's, you know, someone yelling at you with some anger and also some passion, all right? So incorporating some anger and some passion into your life. If you have a lot of a lot of earth energy within you, these are ways you can address it, okay? All right, so let's look at the next element of fire. So fire controls metal, all right? In nature, you can look at, if there's too much metal, right? Metal is that element for clarity, also emotions of grief and compassion. Too much of that becomes what we say an illness in a way. So we want to move some of that energy. So when you have too much metal, in nature, you use fire to melt the metal, right? To help dissolve it a little, make it softer so it's not so rigid. And emotionally, you can say like metal is that strive for perfection. So in that quest for clarity, sometimes it's trying to do too much, trying to be too perfect. And so that fire helps warm it up, helps soften that stance. So, you know, incorporating, so if you have a lot of metal within you, okay, you're very good at certain things. That metal gift is really good, but maybe too much of it, you want to have someone that's fire come along and just like, you know, mess things up a little bit, add some spontaneity, because perfection usually means like you want things very predictable, you want things a certain way. Whereas fire is like, you know, tends to dance and be erratic. So having that can warm up that metal, make it a little bit more malleable. Okay, so it gives you a little example. And today, lastly, we're going to talk about earth, because I don't think I have time to go over everything. Let's look at earth energy. Okay, and basically earth controls water. All right, so the thing with water is that water is, it's really that imagination. So I talked a lot about water being that wisdom and fear, but it can also be very heady, like very in the head in a way. Thinking about the future, thinking about bigger things, but not necessarily thinking about the here and now as much. So earth is quite the opposite, where earth is about, you know, being connected with the reality of where we are. It's about nurturing other people, versus water is not as much of a nurturer. So, you know, water being in its imagination, being in this dreamy state a little bit too much, earth will bring it literally back down to earth. Okay, so how does that work in real life? So if you have too much water, you know, we say you can dam it, right? You can, not that I like dams or anything, but, you know, they serve a purpose. And so you can build like an earth rampart or something to help contain and help control the water a little bit, help keep it grounded. Kind of like making it a little bit like a quicksand sort of thing, where it gets a little bit more stuck, so the water doesn't escape as readily. Okay, so again, like you can look at these as like the kryptonite of those elements. So for earth, it would be the wood is the kryptonite. For the metal, it's the fire, and then for the water, it's the earth. So we're gonna focus on the next two and look at how metal and water controls the other elements, and then try to understand how that really plays out in reality. But think about that in your real life, okay? So that's it for today. And thank you for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow, 8:15.